I'll probably stream to top of climb and kind of end the flight maybe a little early. I'm not going to do a long one. I'm going to try to pick something kind of medium haul here that I can use to really kind of demonstrate. The main thing that I want to demonstrate is SimBrief performance factors, right? Perf factor on SimBrief. So for those of you that don't use SimBrief.com, it's a great flight planning tool. It gives you per airline. They have a lot of different airlines flight plans, like an actual flight plan that a captain on JetBlue would use, or a captain on Lufthansa would use, captain on United. I don't know what all else they have, but they have quite a few good ones. So SimBrief, if you load the fuel, it's going to give you a load sheet, a flight plan. It's going to tell you how much fuel you should have burned between waypoints at your top of climb. The only thing you really kind of can't use a lot of times is the SimBrief top of descent. It usually is a little bit too far forward if you're going to fly by the procedures. So let's jump right into SimBrief. I actually had a conversation yesterday with Tyler Shelton and sent him over some stuff and made a little video, about how this all works. But I figured it'd be a good idea to show it in practice. And so what I'm going to do is I usually do all my flight planning, charts, everything like that. I usually do that on my phone. But as you can see, I'm set up here on my iPad. I'm going to go ahead and plan the flight. And I'm going to go for, that's good, Boston to DC right now. Might be even able to load this myself. Yes, I got an A320, so I'm going to go ahead and load this flight, because I only have about an hour and a half. So, we have a SimBrief fleet here, right? And basically what we do is we match the numbers to real world planes. Like so, right here, you'll see JetBlue A320 engines, right? We take the weights in pounds here out of Infinite Flight and enter them in here. Infinite Flight uses 170 pounds per passenger, and JetBlue currently is redoing their planes to allow 162 passengers. And you see I've got a fuel factor in here saved as minus 15. So I'm going to save that aircraft, right? I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go to my flights, and we're going to do Boston to DC here, just to kind of show. We've been doing some testing on the A330 as of late. How long is... I feel like it landed at Lauderdale's a little too long. So, it landed at Orlando might not be too bad. Let me see what the length of this flight is. I want something that's not too bad. 135. So I'm going to just quickly check on my phone and see what all the Atlanta-Orlando flights have been using. For altitudes, there's one on the way there now. 210. So let's see. 25,000. So the most important thing here is that we get up to at least 29,000. 103. See, that's too short. So give me the DC flight. My flights, we'll do DC. It's about 90 minutes. Okay, load. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Actually, you know what? I should probably show this new flight. So, JetBlue. I believe it's 854 would be the right number. BOS, DCA, and JetBlue 255, 455, 55. JetBlue 55. All right, odd numbers going south and east. So, Boston. KDCA. Probably look for, I don't know what JFK is on the alternate, so we can look. You want about 200 miles for your alternate. let me see, alternates. I'll just put in JFK. That's what they would probably use. JFK. Okay. So I showed the fleet. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select 558JB, and it's in there, right? I've got my operational flight plan layout. Look, you can get Etihad, Delta, Lufthansa, KLM, Qantas, Ryanair, Southwest, United Airlines 2012 format, 2014 format, UAE, that would be, sure I can think, Emirates, British, Air France 12, Air France 17, Air Canada, Lido, which a lot of airlines use. So I have my defaults here. JetBlue Reserve is 60 minutes. FAA requires 45 pounds. Contingency fuel, I don't usually use any unless I know it's going to be an event. Planned step climbs, I'm not going to do that today because it's a short flight. Scheduled time en route, 1 hour, 40 minutes. So let's talk about the fuel and everything like that, right? So the climb profile by SimBrief, 250 knots to 10,000, 300 knots once you get above 10,000, and then 0.78 Mach above flight level 280 in infinite flight. The Mach changeover happens differently, I believe, but generally a rule of thumb would be 28,000 feet, right? So we're going to cruise at Mach 0.80, and then when we descend, we're going to slow to 0.78 until we get down to below, flight level 279, and we'll be going up to 300 knots. Usually the Mach changeover, depending on the temperature, will be 294, 295 at flight level 280 will give you Mach 0.78. 300 knots will give you Mach 0.80, 0.81. Fuel factor, minus 15. We've done a lot of testing on the A320, and this minus 15 factor, you're going to see it in a few minutes here. This minus 15 factor works a charm. So we're going to go off of runway 9. And I don't need to select it because it's PATS 5, PATS, Nelly, CMK, right? So this is a little bit longer SID, so we might be a couple pounds. So I'm going to put a little extra on for taxi, so hopefully it will match up. 10 minutes gives you 200 pounds to taxi with, 15 minutes gives you 300. And we're going to do flight level 300, right? 30,000 feet. And then the only other thing I'm going to adjust here is my zero fuel weight. Right? So let's load it up mid-range, let's say like 133.7. So we're going to be 133,700 pounds, zero fuel weight. Okay? I haven't checked the runways in DC. Looks like it's going to be the RNAV to 19, RNAV RNP 19. Just take a quick look on my phone here. Again, I usually do most of this on my phone. Charlotte to DC. Yep, they're using 19. So we'll come down on the Clipper arrival, and we'll take a right at Eyes, I believe it is, Edward, and then turn base sometime between Edward and Meg's over to Fergie. Usually it's a direct to Fergie, and then on down the river. So we have our route set. We have our zero fuel weight. You don't have to touch anything else here. You can let it, do it automatically. I find it easier and more accurate if I just pick it and set it in infinite flight. If you're at, do a little bit of rounding. So if I go into infinite flight and I jump onto the ramp and you change my call sign, I don't like to jump back and forth because I use the other stuff. So what I do is I'm going to take all the fuel out, and what did I say? 133.7. So I'm going to take a little bit of more cargo out. All right, like that. What do we got for passengers? 142. We'll bump that right up to 150. There you go. 709. So if I go 134, 780. That would be 134.8, 744. Just do a little rounding. So we're going to get close here, 134, 709. I know it's kind of tricky, but as long as you're in the ballpark, you'll be okay. All right, so 149 passengers. Just recalibrate. I do like to set up. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want my in-flight assistant. That is such a pain. Just because I watched HBO Go yesterday, Siri, doesn't mean that I want it now. Oh, for the love. Gotta do that. Do that. Still doing it. Hate that. You gotta stop those suggestions. At any rate, let's see if I can do it with this hand. Oh boy. Yeah, no, still wouldn't let me do a slide over. And of course I'm not paired up, so I'm gonna close Infinite Flight and restart the apps. So I'm gonna close, right? In-flight ops, in-flight assistant, Infinite Flight. There we go. Ready when you are, Captain. Okay, let's do this. There it is. Slide over. Okay. So now I can go back on the gate. I can just do this. 5555. Okay. Okay. All right. Should have my slide over now. So all set. Calibrate start. Let's pop back into Safari real quick. And so again, to review, punch in your airline, flight number, depart, arrive, alternate. Usually it does it automatically. I just picked JFK because it's, I don't know how many miles it is. Let's see. There it is. Airlines. 209. So that's perfect. 200-mile alternate's good. And we're going to do the PATS departure. So it's going to be a long departure. So again, this is ballpark. We're going to be close when we get there. Right? So I'm all set now. I've got my departure runway, arrival runway, little extra taxi out and taxi in. And I'm going to say give me 200 pounds extra fuel. Just because we have a long SID here. We're going to be taking off to the east and then hooking back around to the west to join the PATS departure. So our actual route of flight will be something along the order of this. If I do this, yeah. So our route will be something like this. Maybe even further south than that, if you get the idea, right? And I'm going to hit Generate Operational Flight Plan, confirm, right? Get my briefing package all together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the PDF to my iPhone. Just link myself so I can keep track of my fuel usage. All right, so Ofp Summary. So it's looking for us to take 14,538 pounds of fuel. Or is it going to say, yep, 14,538. Here's our load sheet. I'm going to go ahead and load this up. 14,538. So ballpark. Again, Infinite Flight, ballpark, not a problem. 14,538. So 14.5 is what it's looking for. Look at that. 14,537. Beauteous. All right. I'm going to go ahead and print and view this PDF. All right. I am going to run to SimBrief Classic. All right. On Flight Plan 2 Infinite Flight. Chris Schaefer's excellent website. Highly recommend it. Again, if you're going to do SimBrief, the one that's in there does not allow you to. You have to use SimBrief Classic to be able to do the performance factor, right? So minus 15 basically means 15% less fuel than you should have if you did 0. So if I did 0, it would add another, so 15,000 pounds. What's 15% of that? 10% would be 1,500, so it's going to give you another 2,000 pounds. Now, that might not be a big deal on a short flight like this, but on a longer flight, if you're over max landing weight, which for the A320 is about 146 and change, 146.4 maybe, on a longer flight, 15% more fuel could keep you over. If you load up your passengers 15% more, you could be, circling trying to dump fuel, because the 320 doesn't have a fuel dump option, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I just copied the flight plan, right? So I need my charts real quick. We'll go over that. Do I have a Boston to DC flight here? Oh, I haven't logged in on this in a while. There we go. Let's see if I got Boston. Yep, there we go. So, open charts. SID. PATS 5. Alright, there's my pin board. So I got to do Claw, Fenway, Gillette, Weymouth, Dedham, PATS in the front. Alright. GLET. Yep. Gillette. Oh, no. Claw, Fenway, Gillette, Weymouth, Dedham, PATS. And then I can just punch in, paste in the rest. Oh, I screwed that one up. Copy flight plan. Alright, and then I'll need to add the RNAV in. And let's clean this up a little bit. Okay, clean that up. And then I can just go ahead and eyes, and I should know this by heart, but I'm going to look at the chart on my phone. Eyes, Edward, Megs. Can just do this. Edward, Megs, Nays. Usually I'll turn base before this. Yeah, they usually give a direct before Nays. So, what do I use here? I think I use Megs, Ange, Nippy, Fergie. That gives me a kind of a base leg. 3 miles, yep. So it's Fergie, Derek, where is it? Grays, Satok, Fonvie, Jubal, Werso, Fire Up. Right? And I usually add in Jubal, Werso. I add in this Zaxeb here because I fly it RNAV coupled, right? So what I like to do is I fly it to minimums coupled, right? RNAV minimums coupled. And I could probably do better than that. Maybe I'll just do Ange Fergie, huh? Let's see what the mileage is on that. Ange Fergie. Yeah, that should do it. I'm going to do it together, Fergie. Ange together, Fergie. I don't know. This will do. Anyways, this is about fuel, right? We want to show the fuel. So there's the flight plan, right? See, we'll be coming out, cooking around to the south. Our top of climb waypoint, I'll just activate it for a second. That's top of descent. Our top of climb waypoint is here. So we're supposed to reach flight level 300 right there, right? So we'll make sure to climb so that we can, I gotta do this too, R1191, forgot to do that, runway fix, so I can get the right, correct heading to claw. Alright, there we go. direct to claw, 4,000 or above at claw. Right? So let's go take a look at our flight plan. So we're supposed to burn 6.0 in an hour and 6 minutes. We have an hour's reserve. Our alternate to get to New York from DC would be 3.6 and 46 minutes. Minimum takeoff fuel is 14,000. Taxi out's going to be 300. The minimum block has to be 14.3, and we gave it 200 pounds extra just because we got the long SID today, right? And the total is 14.5. So we're estimated 8.2 on board. So I'm going to send this file over to my iPhone. Can I airdrop it? I got to unlock, I think. I'm going to go ahead. Yep. There we go. There it is. Open with. You can just put it in my my iBooks. There we go. Did that do it? Yep. Okay, so I got my flight plan in my iBooks now. So I'm going to go ahead and close Safari. Right? Actually, one more thing we'll look at on the stream. So at PATS, it expects us to have burned 1.3, and at top of climb, it expects us to have burned 2.7, and to have the above number remaining. Right? So this is why it's important. We want to climb via the profiles that it gives us, not yank or bank, right? Once we get above 10,000 feet, we'll look at the vertical speed. We'll do a little simple math and ballpark math with some fudge, it's definitely got some fudge factor on it. We'll do a little math and see what vertical speed we need to reach the top of climb waypoint at flight level 300 at the appropriate Latin long here, okay? So, remember this number, 2.7, 11.5, right? 2.7, 11.5, I can't take that, no, I can't. 2.7, 11.5, all right, so, fuel's loaded, this is loaded, I gotta get some takeoff numbers real quick. And let's see, SimBrief should have given me some takeoff numbers here. So, the SimBrief A320 takeoff numbers are actually pretty good. So it's calling flap 1 plus F, V1134, which means we'll set 129 in there, that's already set. Rotate at 39 and V2 at 43. So, I'm just going to double check those numbers on my other performance chart. Let's see now here. What's the takeoff weight? 147.9. So 148. So I'm showing 35, 41, 43. This is 34, 39. So we'll do 129. We'll do the 141. Make sure we got that. V2 is going to be 143. So we want to set V2 plus 15. Set speed, so 143 and 15 is 158. Set speed 158. Set speed 158. Right? So we want to pitch for that number there. Right? So we're going to pitch up to probably about 15 degrees. We're going to initially rotate to somewhere around 9 or 10 degrees, but no more than 12.5. Get the gear tucked and keep on rotating up to 15 degrees. We want to hold that pitch until we get to 1,500 feet, where we will pull the power back, bring the nose down, and let the plane accelerate to 250 knots. Then we'll stick the auto thrust in, settle into the climb up to 10,000, right? Once we get above 10,000, then we will go to 300 knots and continue that climb. So,
General Edwards Unicom, JetBlue 55, taxiing to runway 9. Here.
So.
General Edward Unicom, Delta 1438, taxiing to runway 15 right.
I need to push back here. Beacon lights. One thing I did not do, right, is I'm going going to set in 30,000 here. So that'll take over the vertical speed once we are on the way to that waypoint. Now remember, we are looking at that waypoint. We're going to be looking for 2.7. We're going to look for 2.7 down here at fuel used, right? 2.7 is what we want.
General Edward Unicom, Delta 1438 is taking off runway 15 right, departing west.
She's straight out, so it's a pretty much straight shot for the first little while there. Yeah, what do we got? 150, so he's like 26. Okay, engines are good. Flaps 1. Set flaps 1. No breakaway power. Remember our taxi. I set the taxi up for 300 pounds, so between here and the runway, I want to burn 300 down the bottom there. Fuel used, fuel remaining. For some reason, and I'm not quite sure, the fuel remaining is always a little bit extra for some. It doesn't quite match up. Another tip that you can use, right, to keep the nose wheel on the center line here, right, is match it up with in between the PFD and the nav display, right? So if I pop out right now, I need to get a little bit more, yeah, right about there. So watch, if I pop out of the aircraft, I should be almost dead on that, dead on the taxi line. Look at that. So that's a little trick to get the center line. See how it's a little bit off? The carrot's a little bit off. As long as you keep the taxi line or the runway center line in between here, you know, right here. I'll point the carrot to it. I don't have the touches on. If you keep that right there, you'll be all set. Short taxi today, so I probably didn't need the 15 minutes of fuel for taxi. But we do have a little bit of a long sit. Taking off east, departing west.
General Edwards Unicom, Jet
Strobe lights.
55, crossing runway
Landing
4
lights.
left.
Gonna hold short of the runway for a few minutes. Try to burn off a little fuel. So I only needed that 10-minute taxi, but I'm trying to put a little cushion in it. Do a little run up here. Once I get to 200, that'll be good. The taxi fuel is the fuel that you're expected to burn by the time you take off. So when you rotate, you know, it should be 200 as you're going down the runway. Today we're looking for 300. So I'll go ahead and announce. And we're going to be departing west eventually here.
General Edwards Unicom, JetBlue 55 is taking off runway
Landing
9,
lights.
departing west.
Strobe lights. Good to go. If I had taken the 200-pound taxi, I'd be all set. Right? Keep an eye down the bottom right of my screen. Right? Where's the wind coming from? So we'll just hold the brakes. All right. Power up to about 50%. Let it stabilize. Stable. And we're 149, so we're going to use about 91%. Which is 85, that's 84%. Might settle out at 92. Power set. Put in a little forward stick. 100 knots checked. Forward stick, and a little right aileron. V1, neutralize, rotate, rudder. Right up. Retract gear. Okay, gear's coming up. And I'm looking for 158. I'm pitching for 158. Alright. Flap retraction speed. So see how that's about 15 degrees? I'm not worried about what the vertical speed can be, whatever it wants to be. As long as I'm holding 158 right now. Okay, we're looking for 1,500 feet. Coming right up. Okay, thrust reduction. I did not check my speed here. I need to see what my flaps up speed is going to be. Or the S speed. Airbus calls it the S speed. 199. So I'll call flaps up at 199. Just readjusting my trim here. I need to hit claw above 4,000 feet. Should not be a problem at all. Also, the more speed you gather on the A320, the more negative trim it's going to require. Flaps, 0 degrees. There's going to be a little drop in lift here. We'll just kind of neutralize that. Right, we're looking for 250. 37 seconds. I'm going to start the turn. Right, see how I'm letting the speed kind of build naturally? I'm going to punch in the auto throttle in just a second here. Punch in the auto throttle. All right, Right? At that point, when I punch in the auto thrust, I usually lock the vertical speed up. We're going to make our turn towards Weymouth. Remember, we're looking for 2.7 on the fuel used. Once we get to 10K, we'll accelerate again. And again, we don't want the thrust to go to just 110% or whatever the max is. Right? Just take this angle right here for now. I got a wind blowing me back out to the east a little bit. Okay, here we go, coming up 10,000. Landing lights off. Okay, so watch this, going to reduce that vertical speed. Bump a couple of percentages, not too much. Just get that speed trending upwards. Over there. Stick it in nav. Right, so now we've got 29,000. Oh, sorry, what do we got? 19,500 to go. Right, so once I get squared away, I'll look at the timing. I have a little app called Time Calc, and what I'm going to do is start adding together once I hit that 300 knots. See, there's more negative trim needed here. Okay, 300. Do that for a second. Just let it stabilize. Get that trim neutralized. Right. So we got 551, 628. Time calculator app. So 5 minutes 51 plus 6 minutes 28, 12:19 plus 35 equals 12:54. So let's wait 10 seconds. 12.75. Okay. So 13.7 minus 30. 700, 16.3 divided by 12.75. So vertical speed should be 1278.43. So we'll set the vertical speed to set vertical speed 1378. Set flight level 300. What did I say? 1278? Yeah, so set vertical speed 1350. Stupid thing, sometimes it doesn't work. Set vertical speed 1350. Nope. Set vertical speed 1350. At any rate, so once we hit PATS, right, the VNAV will take over and take us on up to flight level 300. The only thing we've got to do now is once we get to flight level 270, 265, 270, once we get up there, what we need to do is slow down a little bit so we can get to Mach 0.78. And you'll see right above the map right here, you'll see we're at Mach 0.62 right now. Do the belts. So once we hit, so right now we've got 15 seconds. Okay, so 48 seconds will be 6 minutes and 7 seconds, so let's do 3.5, 6, so it's 9 minutes, 40 seconds, 17.3, so that's 13.7 divided by 9.5. 14.42 it's calling for now. So we'll just bump that vertical speed up a little bit more. If I did that math right. So 9 minutes to go. 18,000. So 12,000 divided by 9. $13.33. Again, when we hit Pat's in 2 minutes and 37 seconds, what we got here? You can hear it in the background, but that's a JetBlue E190 over my head here on 4 left. $19,000 going uphill. 216. So it's down to 554. So 206 will be 7 minutes. So 19.3. So that's 11.7. Weird. Okay, 10,000 to go. 136 and 540. 725. 1333. So. Still get 1333 on the vertical speed. So the A320 in Infinite Flight has just great performance. As long as you use use this fuel factor, you'll be, certainly within 1,000 pounds. More likely, you'll be within 500 pounds. What SimBrief thinks, it doesn't take into account. SimBrief thinks that we just went from Boston to Pat's, right? So it thinks that we did a straight line. It thinks we were doing a straight line this way, and it expects at Pat's for us to have burned, I think it's at 1.7. Let me check here. Still sensitive, John. Pat's was supposed to be 1.3, but then the top of climb's supposed to be 2.7. So let's see. Yep, 1408. We were getting 1333 there for a while. So we're supposed to burn 300 pounds in 5 minutes. Not going to happen. We're going to be a little bit over. But we can make that up on the descent. We just hold the descent a little bit longer than normal. We're going to get down to a 2,600 foot per minute descent. Real pilots I've talked to say it's about sure. About 3,200 is the most you want to go for passenger comfort-wise. So let's check the fuel flow. 66 40. Divided by 60, it's going to be 110 pounds a minute. 6682. So plus 4. So we're going to be about 200 pounds over, roughly. Maybe 300, because now it's at 730. It's bouncing all over the place right now, but our vertical speed hasn't really changed. See what that does a little. There we go. Dropped it a little bit, neutralizing the trim. That's strange. What are we at for power? 75. That's average. So we're at Mach 0.75 and start slowing back a little bit as we start getting. Usually drop a knot per thousandths till I get to 280. It's 0.76 minus 28. So as we climb, that Mach number keeps getting higher. 3 minutes, 62.56. Okay, so we're basically at what we were supposed to be at. So we're within 2.75 minutes. So top of climb, 11.5 remaining, 2.7 burned. So we'll see what we get. And again, they thought that we just did this, right? SimBrief is thinking that you're going here, direct to there. That's why I put that extra 200 pounds. See, 0.77. So we're 2 minutes out, and we're at the fuel that we're supposed to have used. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream at top of climb. All right, we're at Mach 0.78. We got that changeover. All right, I want to just make sure that it continues at Mach 7.8 to the top of climb. Sometimes you hit it a ways before. There we go, Mach 7.8. 2,000 to go. And a lot of it depends on your vertical speed. We're still doing Mach 7.9 even though it calls for Mach 7.8. To go. So that fuel flow's coming right down now. Load. And we were over max landing weight when we took off, so there's that. 1,000 to go. So what I like to do here is, once I get within 500 feet, that vertical speed's going to start slowing down. So I'm just going to leave the throttle here. Turn off the auto throttle so that when the plane levels out, it will start gaining some speed. And then I'll punch the auto throttle back in at Mach 0.8. So 20 seconds to top of climb. See that vertical speed reduced already? Coming right on down, leveling out. Looking for 0.80. So 2.9 and 11.6. We were supposed to have burned 2.7. There's Mach 80. So we were supposed to burn 2.7. We were exactly on 2.9. We were supposed to have 11.5 and we had 11.6. So that is SimBrief, right? Notice how I didn't yank and bank. I didn't get up to like 3,500, 4,000 feet per minute climb. Nice and gentle. Pitch for your speed on takeoff for V2 plus 15. Right? And Just be gentle with the aircraft. Make sure you neutralize your trim. Too much. Right. Let's see, 29758. Let's see what SimBrief says at Nelly. At Nelly, we were supposed to burn 2.8 and have 11.4. We burned 3.0 and we have 11.5. So, hey, that's about as close as you're gonna get. Like to send a big shout out to Aquila for teaching me how to set up the performance factors. I use it pretty much religiously. So let's see if we can do a little trick here. We're going to do fuel flow, and 5175, we'll call it, divided by 60, 86.25 times 7 is 603, plus 3071, 3.7. So at CMK, we're supposed to have burned 3.5, and we should have burned 3.7. So we're going to be 200 pounds behind the curve, which is okay, because again, we can make that up on descent. I might keep streaming the flight just to show the whole smash. I don't know if it's worth it, but keep taking a look at the waypoints here. See how we level out. Keep an eye on the fuel. So let's see the trims are positive or negative. No, 19 it's looking like. So we'll call it 5,000 divided by 60, 83 times 5.75, 479, plus 3190, 3668. So we're going to be close to 3.7 there at CMK, which is the Caramel VOR, if I remember correctly. Caramel VOR. If I dared to open Safari right now, I would show the extend that leg a little bit, because it's kind of it's a tight turn. Can start putting in some VNav stuff here. So I'm going to look up the Clipper arrival on my phone. I believe it's Baltimore, 10,000. Baltimore 10 and 250. Trisha 12, expect. So if we hold that and we set Baltimore for 10,000. Manually slow 250. Bring up the RNAV RMP chart for 19. Start putting in some altitudes here. So 30 is 3,000. 210. I'm sorry, 3,000 minus 200. Derek. It's 2,600. Blaze, 1,700. Talk, 1,500. Funky, 1,214. Jubal, 955. Warsaw, 480. That's basically the minimum. Zaxxon is not on there. The Fire Rock is 253, so we'll be disconnecting the autopilot just around Warsaw, between Warsaw and Zaxxon. The reason I add Zaxxon is it'll try to turn you early before fire up, and you want to keep going straight because that's where you basically line up for the runway. Let's see if I can get a landing weight here. Do a little bit of calculation. So the landing weight for the A320 today, we're going to be 200 pounds light, we think. Landing weight is 141,865, so 142,000 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and get numbers for that. So at DC, the wind's 130 at 6 knots. So that's a 2-knot additive, basically, roughly 2-knot additive. Dropping the first notch of flaps at 195. 42.2. Runway direction is 190. Wind is 130. That's 6. So we're looking for 141 VAP. Touchdown speed, or VREF, VLS, and Airbus speak, of 135, so 141. So 200. 630. Back to 170 for Derek. 19 to SimTalk, just before SimTalk. 142. Usually add one more knot than I have to for infinite flight, because the auto thrust is not up all the way sometimes. Alright, so we're passing, just past that VOR 36. Close. 3.672. We're supposed to do 3.5 here. Yep. Dewey's is supposed to be 3.7 and 10.5. Passing over New York here in a second. Take a look at the right one. A few bucks. There's light blue, which is right there. There's the top of the sea. There's Washington Bridge. And the old stomping grounds. So now we're almost caught up to the fuel. We're pretty much within 100 pounds here. is 3.79, so 3.8. So we've caught up to the fuel now. 286 and 63. Let's see what SimBrief has to say about Dewey's. 276 and 60. Pretty close. 6 degrees and 3 knots off. Yeah, SimBrief winds are really, really good. So 4.5. 175. 400 pounds. 200. So, Jersey, supposed to have 4.1. Gonna be somewhere right along that line. Start thinking about top of the sentence, mileage-wise. Another thing with SimBrief, right, is it expects us to go directly from I's to DC and only bring 300 pounds, right? So at the waypoint I's, we should have 5.7. And when we reach DC, which is 18 miles, straight line, the waypoint I's. So let's see, show this a little bit better. I'll have the airspace here. So from here, right, direct line would be 18 miles. Actually, I'll show you. Plus, right, let's pick it on. That's 9.8. That's good. 18 miles. Interesting. 8 miles. So it thinks roughly double. So it's allowing for a little bit of an approach. So the last waypoint on SimBrief is I's. We still got to go over to Meg's. A lot of times, when I've listened to Potomac Approach, what they'll do is they'll give you direct to Meg's, right? And then along the way to Meg's, they'll give you direct to Fergie, cleared the RNAV, RMP, 190, runway 190. Never did two, I lost it. Nice when we get center back, I think. See how that works. So Jersey, it's supposed to be 4.1.5, so it might be closer to 4.2. We're getting along. We hold up. Descent. SimBrief, it's supposed to descend. Did I delete that already? I did. SimBrief thinks we're going to descend a minute after Kentucky. So, let's have a look here. So SimBrief thinks we're going to descend probably right here, somewhere along here. Probably before this MD-61 for Beeman. So, descend there, 52 seconds. So 230, roughly 330, 10, so 310, 3 minutes and 10 seconds. That would require a descent of 5,800 feet per minute. So starting down prior to that, for sure. The speeds won't match up until we get back to, once we get to Mach 170, descent, and start down. It'll make a little more sense. So we just hit another waypoint. We hit Solberg. We just hit Jersey. At Jersey, we were supposed to burn 4.1. roughly 4.2 and a half, close enough to 4.2, so we're 100 pounds under the curve. We're supposed to have 10.1 remaining, 10.275, so 10.4. I did talk to a real pilot friend of mine, and he says there's a lot of fudge factor on the weights. They take a base weight, same as the developers do. They say a passenger's 170 pounds. SimBrief uses 230 pounds per passenger, so they figure a passenger 180, and then passengers 180, and they have a 50-pound baggage, so 230. Back on the so we're supposed to have 9.8 remaining and burn 4.4, so 20 seconds to the waypoint. Looks like we're going to have close enough 4.4 and 10.0. How the fuel flow now down the bottom. Settle down at 4,900. Now, on longer flights, I've seen that go as low as 4,200, I think it was. That's with step climbing and optimal altitudes. Seconds to wait. I usually try to record about 15 seconds before the waypoint is all so to speak. Big 4.6, 9.6. So see, we're already caught up. Right on the mark. part of the flight where I usually just, once I get all my calculations made, check my fuel, usually pop onto the IFC and see what's going on. Keep the super decathlon. I wasn't aware they were taking it out. Somebody's going South America to Africa. Round robin. Let's see. Flag, Mr. Class. I feel like this is an old flag, 10 days ago. Saw that in the news. See if we can find anything interesting on the live flight. Oh, all kinds of stuff going on. Something it's the expert service. So here we are. It's coming up. Somebody was over. Looks like there's a bunch of people down in Atlanta. Delta guys down in Atlanta. Let's do one on my American. Busy. Okay, so at Modena will be joining the arrival. And there's a 12,000 foot restriction in Trish that I think they give it when it's busy. They like to keep you above the Baltimore traffic, obviously. It's 12,000 in Trish and 10 at Baltimore. But to keep the fuel on point, I will usually hold the descent a little bit longer. Last time I flew to DC, they did kept us high. They said across Baltimore 10,250. So even coming from Baltimore, we'll be doing 250 knots the whole rest of the leg there. said. So, 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Just get my time calculator app going here. So 2:48. 2 minutes 48. 33 seconds plus 51 seconds plus 1 minute 26 seconds plus 53 seconds, 6.5. So 18,000 plus 6.5 is 2769. And then 18,000, I'm sorry, that's 20,000 divided by 8.5, 352. So we're going to start down now. So, set altitude 10,000. Set altitude 10,000. Hello. Where you at, Mark? Set altitude 10,000. Well, sometimes it doesn't work. 10, 7, 8. Do a low 2,400 foot per minute descent, yeah. Looking across Baltimore at 12,000. So we've got 55 seconds. 55 seconds. Plus 1 minute 30. Plus 53. Plus 35. Plus 2 minutes 55. 6.75 to go. 27.8. So that's 17.8 divided by 6.75. 26.37. So the VNAV will kick over. So 292. So we need to speed up now because we're looking for 300 in that descent. Changeover was at 292, as you see there. Okay, 16,000 to go. Minute and a half. 3 minutes to Baltimore. 9,300. So, Muggy, we're supposed to have done Muggy 5.4. So, see, now we're under the burn now. So, this is where the fudge factor comes in. 14,000 to go. 145, 245, 315. 6 minutes, 15 seconds, 14,000. 2,000, 6.25, 2240. Start descending 2,000. So after descent, and Infinite Flight Assistant will take over for Baltimore once we clear Clipper. I'm hoping someday John will put the look ahead, so it says, okay, hey, he wants to be at this waypoint at this time, select a descent rate type deal, more of an FMC type deal. Okay, coming through 18,000 through the belts, get him sat down. flow during cruise, so I can get the, divide the fuel flow by 60. And that's your pounds per minute. Multiply by the times the next waypoint. So I'm expecting to burn another $2,000 here. No, sorry. Yeah, about another $2,000, 141 at night. Okay, so we just caught Baltimore. And notice it dropped us down 23.54. Now we'll get close to an hour of this one. Baltimore, crossing Baltimore, 5.6 and 8.6. So we're well ahead of the curve on fuel remaining. Just about accurate on the fuel burned. 1975 to 30 something a minute. So 55, 56, 55, 76 at Baltimore, theoretically speaking. And then we'll be pulling it back to 250. And then we'll enter the kind of high drag, high power regime here. So once I get to within about a minute of Baltimore, maybe a minute and a half, I'll bring the speed back. Then the power will start coming up again. Usually I try to slow within 1,500 feet or so, depending on how fast I'm going downhill. Also, as we slow, that negative 19 trim will come back to probably little above neutral. Back to idle now. Set speed 250. Across Baltimore. 1,000 He's called me a dumbass more than one time for having my speed over 255. Pick up? No, still 44 miles out. Can't quite pick it up yet. Usually bring it down so that I'm like 4,000 at megs descending on that base leg. So 3 minutes and a minute 20, minute 4. 25, and 6,000. It's about 1,400 feet, I think. And so that was 120, 224, 240. So that's 5 minutes. 2.5. Set altitude 4,000. I don't know why it didn't work the last time. It works now. Start down at 1,000. Electric. Here. Let's see what we're supposed to have for fuel and eyes. 5.7 burned. Right on the money. 5.8. Just going to activate. Just take that out. We'll go direct next. Capital. That's the stadium on the river. National Mall over here. There's quite a few flights. 2,700. 1.75. Just before that. Yes.
Ronald Reagan Unicom, JetBlue 55 is on left downwind, runway 19.
Let's lock in the approach. There'll be all kinds of off on that. I feel like this inch might be a little. How's it gonna go? Important to configure. thinks we're going to burn 6.0, so we're going to be over that because we're about to go into the high drag regime. Set speed 210. See. Set speed 2-1. Actually, it's set speed.
Ronald Reagan Unicom, JetBlue 55 is on left base, runway 19.
I like to punch that thrust in and out because it really will drain your speed. Forgot to put minimums in. That is 40. She says 40. Flaps 1. Turning over the river here. Again, I'll punch that all thrusted so we don't get the pitch up and pitch down. Flaps 2. Call final.
Ronald Reagan Unicom, JetBlue 55 is on final, runway 19.
Wheels at about 7 miles, sometime between 7 and 5 miles. Let's see, RNAV, RNP, technically we're supposed to be right on the money there. You know, this is a small victory. I'm psyched they put the NDVs back in. Totally cool. So we're going to catch the glide slope at about, we're going to catch the final on the glide slope right about 500 feet. We disconnect the autopilot. All right, let's see, graze. Gear down. Flaps 3. Flaps full. Yeah, she got me there. Get a little extra oomph on that. So far. Give it a quick calibrate here. Nasty surprises. Stabilized. Still a little heavy. Okay. Or so. Okay, come right down. Nav's off. Okay. stable. Landing.
400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Not my greatest work. Can't wait to see the fire up on that. Somebody was watching. Strobe lights off. Landing lights off. Flaps 0 degrees. So 6.4 on the landing. We're supposed to have 6.0. And then 300 for taxi. So SimBrief actually does not add your taxi fuel in, which I allowed for 200 pounds. So we're going to look at the sheet again. It's a file that I put at the end of the stream and try to match things up. Easy. So 6.5 and 8.0. Take another look at the sheet here. So 6.5 and 8.2. So we're 200 pounds under what we're supposed to have, but that does not account for the taxi in, which would have been 200. So 8.0 and 6.3. So let's just, we can do this. Get our PIREP, see what our landing looks like. Yeah, it was a greaser. JetBlue 55. SimBrief. Stream. Let's go ahead and do this. We'll do this. And then let's do this. And I'm going to do this. And this. Alright, fuel usage summary. That landing looks good. What was my ref supposed to be? 135, so I was 4 knots under VREF. Alright, let's look here. Let's bring this up. And merge this in. Alright, so at the end of the day here, let's get this fuel summary here. We can read it bottom to top. So, estimated fuel on board, SimBrief had us at 8, but you notice how that doesn't have, you see how this doesn't have the 10-minute taxiing? 200 pounds for taxi. So EFOB, when we landed, was probably 8.2, right? Or 8.0, right? The burn, total fuel used, plus a 200-pound taxi, a 300-pound taxi out. Actually, it looks like it's 0.4. So it says we burned 400 on the taxi from gate. And so we burned 600 on the taxi. So 6.0 was the burn. And you'll see here the en route, right? En route 6.0 plus 600 for, or 500 for the taxi, which was 0.3 on the way out and then 0.2 on the way in. So can't complain. This is, again, minus 15 perf factor. And that is basically how you do it. Now if I go on here, right, en route 6.0, estimated on board 8.2, come right back here. Total used was 6.5 and 8.0 remaining on board. So can't complain at that. Was a good landing. Do want to watch that replay. I think I was a little further down the runway than I should have been. But thanks for watching the stream. If you have any questions, email me on the email me. Hit me up on the IFC at FBWFTW.